Hello, everybody. Greetings. Happy Sunday afternoon. I hope that you're all having a really great weekend and enjoying the beautiful weather that's outside. So today we are going to look at some positive news stories that have been out in the paper. And I know you're probably thinking, well, that seems really hard to come by in this time, but I did find some really good stories for us to look at. So I thought we would jump right in. This story that I first found is about a man who donates quite a bit of money for people to get their college education. And he did not ever get an opportunity to get his college education, but he wants to pay it forward to others. So I thought that was a really nice story, and I thought we would just read it together. Well, countless brilliant men and women still do not have their college diplomas. Their achievements often speak for themselves. Still, having access to higher education can be an important stepping stone on the path to success. It's a double whammy when marginalized students who've traditionally faced financial barriers to obtaining degrees find themselves drowning in debt by the time they graduate. Few know the challenges of this particular obstacle course better than Calvin Tyler, who abandoned his own collegiate dreams 6 decades ago when tuition became too steep. In 1961, Tyler enrolled as a student of business administration at Morgan State College, now Morgan State University in Baltimore. When his funds dried up in 1963, a year shy of graduation, he took a job as a UPS driver. Tyler's lack of a college diploma might have considered a setback by some, but it did not deter this driver with a true drive for steadily rising in the ranks. By the time he retired in 1998, Tyler was Senior Vice President of U.S. Operations and was seated on the UPS Board of Directors. Tyler's hard work and grit paid off, but he knew that in the business world, his story was the exception rather than the rule. So, in 2002, he and his wife established the Kelvin and Tina Tyler Endowment Scholarship Fund at the historically Black university he once attended. By granting full-time tuition scholarships to select Baltimore students in need, they hoped to elevate themselves to a place where they'd be able to gain a first foothold on the corporate ladder. How far they climbed would be up to them. In 2016, Tyler raised the bar, endowing the fund with $5 million. Earlier this year, they broke their own record, pledging $20 million in scholarship endowments. Tyler says he and his wife were compelled by the impact that COVID-19 crisis has had on students already struggling to do what they could to once close the financial gap. This is why we are increasing our commitment, he explained. We want to have more full tuition scholarships offered to young people so that they can graduate from college and enter the next stage of their life debt-free. Morgan State President David Wilson addressed the couple's large ongoing support in a statement that said in part, "Through their historic giving, the doors of higher education will most certainly be kept open for generations of inspiring leaders whose financial shortfalls may have kept them from realizing their academic dreams. The Tyler's generosity over the years, culminating with this transformative commitment, is a remarkable example of altruism with great purpose." Calvin Tyler might not have a college diploma to hang on his wall, but he's earned an advanced degree in paying it forward many times over. And that is one course of study all of us can learn from. So that was quite a story. I wish we all had somebody like that in our lives that was so generous. He's really doing fabulous work. Now, the next story is about a young woman who donated 30,000 pairs of shoes to people without homes. which is quite a feat when you are only 13 years old. So we're going to read about her. Her name is Lindsay Sobel. And it says here, for children raised in the Jewish faith, a bar or bat mitzvah is the celebration of the symbolic passage into adulthood. While at age 13, we are not truly grown up, but we can begin to see our place in the larger world. What Lindsay Sobel saw in the months leading up to her own bat mitzvah was that a life of privilege was not a blessing that everyone shared, and she was determined to do something about it. As she became increasingly aware of the day-to-day hurdles homeless people living on the streets of Los Angeles faced, one thing Sobel saw time and time again was how many people lacked proper footwear. I noticed a lot of them were in really awful living conditions. No way any person should have to live. On top of that, I noticed a lot of them did not even have shoes on, she said in an interview with A Mighty Girl. At 12 years old, I was thinking, wow, people don't have shoes? It's kind of putting things into perspective for me. For her tikkun olam, which means an act of repairing the world, central to the bat mitzvah ceremony, Sobel came up with the idea to launch Shoes for Souls, a charitable outreach program that collects and distributes shoes for Southern Californians in need. Part of the requirement for having a bar or bat mitzvah is that in some way you need to give back to your community and give back to the world, she said. I decided I wanted to give back as big as I could. Since its inception, Shoes for Souls has rehomed about 30,000 plus pairs of gently used shoes collected during school shoe drives, from shout-outs to her fellow volleyball players and their families. While the coronavirus pandemic has caused many of her usual sources to dry up, Sobel took to the internet to solicit donations via the Nextdoor app. The trickle became a steady flow once more. Sobel only accepts shoes in good condition. I want to try to give the best experience to all people, she told A Mighty Girl. A fresh new pair of shoes can really brighten someone's day, brighten their attitude and their outlook on life. Shoes are such a simple thing, but the repercussions of not having them can impact everything from health to mobility to the possibility of looking for work. That one pair of shoes could change someone's life, she said. Sobel's mission is to help people who are down at heel put their best foot forward. It's obviously something she believes in heart and soul. While she's received numerous accolades for her efforts, seeing the impact of the repairing the world has had on her community has been its own reward. A recent visit to the beach mission gave Sobel an opportunity to see how all of her hard work is paying off. There are so many homeless people right now, and the challenge is for me to see how I can help as many of them as possible. It was a chance to see who I am giving the shoes to in person, and I felt pretty good about myself and great about the community. So that's a very soulful story and just a great inspiring story, and shoes make such an impact. So now I have another good news story, and this is about Alex Trebek, the late and great Alex Trebek. And I know there are many Jeopardy fans that may be watching today. So we have a story from him. When beloved host from Jeopardy, Alex Trebek lost his battle to pancreatic cancer last November. He left behind more than family, friends, and a legion of adoring fans. He also left behind an amazing legacy of compassion and philanthropy. During his lifetime, the Canadian-born television personality invested his passion, time, and money in a number of worthy causes. Continuing the tradition, Trebek's family has donated a portion of his personal wardrobe, much of it worn on air, to the Doe Fund. Established in 1990, the Doe Fund has provided jobs, vocational training, education, and social services to more than 28,000 underserved Americans, coping with addiction, homelessness, and a history of incarceration. The idea for the clothing drop came from Trebek's son, Matthew. Together, he and Jeopardy costume coordinator chose 14 suits, 58 dress shirts, 300 neckties, 25 polo shirts, 14 sweaters, 9 sport coats, 9 pairs of dress shoes, 15 belts, 2 parkas, and 3 pairs of dress slacks to be donated to the Doe Fund's Ready, Willing, and Able program that provides interview outfits for those hoping to rejoin the workforce. We are so grateful for Jeopardy and the Trebek's family commitment to lifting up the most vulnerable among us. Doe Fund President Harriet McDonald told CNN, "The men in our career training programs are always in need of professional attire so they can shine in their job interviews and work with confidence once they are hired. This donation alleviates the obstacle of not having appropriate clothing." During his last day on set, Alex extolled the virtues of everyone opening their hands and their hearts to those who are suffering, Jeopardy executive producer Mike Richards said at a press release. Donating his wardrobe to those who are working to rebuild their lives is the perfect way to begin to honor his last request. Alex Trebek once said, "Don't tell me what you believe in. I will observe how you behave and I will make my own determination." For loyal fans who followed him for 38 seasons, that determination is quite clear. All right, and I have a story here about, it's about COVID, but it's actually something positive. So we will read this now. It has felt like a long, cold winter for many people, but there is good news coming out of the U.S. As COVID-19 cases continue to fall more and more as people get their jabs. So I think we got ours in December, January, and February. So I think most people are now vaccinated here at least, which is really good. As of February 14th, Valentine's Day, more than 70 million vaccine doses have been delivered to Americans. According to the CDC, more than 1 in every 10 Americans has received a vaccine dose, and 14 million people in the country have received 2 doses, meaning about 4% of the nation has now been fully vaccinated. Currently, about 1.67 million doses per day are being administered. In further hopeful news, according to the COVID Tracking Project, COVID cases are still down 57% since the country's all-time peak at the beginning of January. While hospitalizations are still high, they are falling, and that winter surge of cases is reported as rapidly easing. Of course, there is still a long way to go until life goes back to what will likely be a new normal. Still, the winter surge is over. The vaccine rollout is working, and it's likely that if the current pace of vaccinations is sustained, by July, around half of Americans will receive their first vaccine dose. So that is very promising news. We just want things to go back to the way they were. So now our last 2 stories are related to the horrible ice storm that took place in Texas. And that happened about 2 weeks ago. So there were some good events that came out of that horrible winter storm. So the first one is about a couple that drove from New Jersey to Texas to help with plumbing. So we're going to hear their story. When a crippling ice storm hit Texas, leaving a bonanza of burst water lines, homeowners found themselves scrambling to find help. With local supplies and plumbers exhausted by demand, crucial repairs seemed out of reach until an unlikely hero rode to the rescue. After loading up his truck with about $2,000 of materials, New Jersey plumber Andrew Mitchell, along with his wife and the couple's 2-year-old son, and his newly apprenticed brother-in-law made the 22-hour trek from Newark, New Jersey to Houston and got to work putting things right. A lot of the people we've helped were telling us that they either can't get a plumber or on the phone, or if they do get one on the phone, the wait to be serviced is about 3 to 4 weeks out, so they can't have water that entire time. Mitchell's first stop was his sister-in-law's home in Humble. Throughout the storm, the two had been keeping tabs on his sister and learned from her situation just how dire the circumstances in the Lone Star State truly were. Internet posts from a harried local plumbers pleading for help cemented the couple's resolve to take action. "This is your time," she said in a conversation recounted in an interview with the CBS news program Uplift. "Everybody has their time to shine. You have the skills, you have the credentials, you should just go." After tackling his sister-in-law's plumbing woes, a word of Mitchell's effort soon spread, with days starting at 7 a.m. and often not ending until after 2 a.m. the following morning. Mitchell and Isaiah were servicing on average between 6 and 10 houses a day. One recipient of the good work was 71-year-old Barbara Benson. After a week without water resulting from a burst pipe, she was at her wit's end. She'd contacted more than a dozen plumbers and was told it would be weeks before an appointment could be scheduled. To make matters worse, Benson said some plumbers quoted as much as,
"South, please pick up part 1. 3 South, please pick up part 1.
$2,000 just to show up for an estimate. Far from price gouging, Mitchell routinely charged clients only what they could afford. "I never ask a customer what do they think is fair. What do they have to spare? I never try to take advantage of anybody." Satisfied customer Benson couldn't have been more pleased with the outcome of Mitchell's house call. "For a woman living by herself, you can get scammed easily, and I was just pleasantly surprised," she told the news outlet. "It was like somebody's watching out for me." While Mitchell and his family originally planned to stay until the plumbing supplies ran out, since the need remained so great, they are considering restocking materials and spending at least a little more time in Texas. A lot of times when you see devastation, it could be across the world. It could be across the country. It could be in your own town. You really feel like your heart is breaking with them and you can't do anything. But in this instance, we really could. I really knew if we could only help one family, we would make a difference. Doing what you love and being of service to others has proven to be an immense inspiration. It's really a blessing to be a blessing to other people, and Andrew truly enjoys the work. Kisha told BBC, "Plumbing is his passion." All right, and we have one more story coming out of Texas. This one is about a business owner who opened up his store to people that were left without power. So we're going to hear about this one. Texas has seen more than its fair share of weather-related calamities, but there's one valiant businessman who has consistently stepped up to make sure his Houston neighbors were always to have shelter from the storm. When the recent winter storm took out the power grid, leaving his state in shambles, Jim Mattress Mac McInvale opened 2 of his gallery furniture locations as impromptu warming stations. Over the course of a 72-hour period, Mattress Mac and his crew provided 3,000 plus meals and overnight accommodations to more than 700 Houston residents, and offering shelter to the community on the store's website. And this isn't the first time that Mattress Mac had turned into a Good Samaritan. In 2005, the Lone Star Paladin welcomed refugees from Hurricane Katrina, and in 2017, he gave victims of Hurricane Harvey some relief. "We are opening up both buildings as shelters during this horrible time," he said in a 2017 post. "We've got lots of bed, we've got lots of food, we've got lots of water, and you can even bring your animals. When Tropical Storm Imelda hit in 2019, once again, he made sure Furniture Gallery's doors were open for those in need. With the onset of Uri, he took to social media inviting anyone who needed to come on down. While the store had a diesel-run generator to provide electricity, with only a single functional water pipe, plumbing became a critical issue. Ensuring COVID-19 protocols were followed added another layer of complexity to the situation. His staff rose to the occasion, rigging a solution to meet the plumbing demand and also ensuring that once visitors were wearing masks, they observed proper social distancing before settling in to fill up on warm meals, watch some TV, and then get some much-needed rest. Obviously, there's a lot of angst among the community in coming here. They are shell-shocked. They've been home for days in the cold with no electricity, no heat, no water, no plumbing, he told the Washington Post. While Mattress Mac may be best known locally for the over-the-top commercials, he's been getting some king-size praise via the internet, from the West Coast to the East, for being the go-to humanitarian port in so many Houston storms. I live nowhere in Texas, I'm in Michigan, said somebody on the internet. If for whatever reason I ever move to Texas, I will be sure that you have my patronage. Thank you for your kindness. And this from the Windy City. Shout out to Mattress Mac from Chicago. You are an absolute blessing to those in need and an inspiration to everyone. This story has done so much more than warm and feed Texans. It is a beacon of light and hope for our entire country. You are a true angel. And this one from the South. I live in Georgia, and this is something that warms my heart. I know y'all are cool and hungry and ready to read something like this is amazing. Thank you, Gallery Furniture, for doing this. God bless. Much of the expense for his neighbor's care comes out of his own pocket, but to him, that's how it should be. To whom much has been given, much is expected, he told the Post. We've benefited from public support over the years, so it is our obligation to open our doors and let people come in to get respite from the storm. It is just the right thing to do. So, that is lovely, and 5 really good stories. First we heard about the person who donated money to help people go to college. Then we heard about the young woman who donated 30,000 pairs of shoes to people experiencing homelessness. Then we heard that the COVID vaccination is working to keep the rates down, and that, we're already getting a big number of people that are vaccinated. And then we heard about those 2 fabulous people that came to Texas to work on plumbing. And then this person who opened his own store for people to come in and seek shelter. So, really uplifting stories today. And I hope you are having a fabulous weekend, and I will see you very soon. Bye!